Gonna try to make this as quick as possible, but the reason why there's so many, they're like putting our focus so much on the files right now is because they know that people are gonna focus on it because we've been waiting for it for so long. But I don't think that his name is gonna be in it because we were talking about this in class and he's a part of active criminal investigations, and if you know anything about the law, you know during an active investigation, law enforcement can't release anything to the public yet, which is why like when the law enforcement does reach out for help, it's usually through like the mayor or through, you know, a tip line, but they have to use discretion and like weigh the pros and cons of releasing vulnerable information to the public. But the reason why they're doing it right now is because Trump, or T guy, he is moving billions of dollars out of fighting for ending houselessness
and the homeless, triggering concerns that it could lead to more people living on the street. The changes involve $3.9 billion in funds previously used to place people in permanent housing. That money will now be shifted to transitional programs with work requirements and for mandatory treatment for addiction or mental illness. For more on what's at stake and the potential impact, I'm joined.
It's an enormous shift. This is the main source of homelessness funding. It's used by local programs, thousands of them all across the country. And the reason is the Trump administration has a very different philosophy for how best to tackle homelessness and really what is the root cause, as they put it, of homelessness. They're their idea is that mental illness and addiction are the root causes. You see this especially with the rise.
And so if you actually look it up, only in class we found it said anywhere between 10 to 65% of people are mentally ill and or using substances while being homeless. I think people just like, they don't actually know the statistics of who's out on the street. You know, you immediately think of maybe drug addicts or someone who's mentally ill because that's all you've seen being shown on the news, and that's because it's easy to capitalize off of and it captures people's attention at something that they don't want to look at. People don't want to look at houselessness, but at the same time it also, they do it because, come on, it gives the public a scapegoat for anything socially or public health stuff going wrong. It gives them an easy scapegoat. And the funniest part about this is like they're taking money out of permanent housing, and permanent housing is what will end houselessness. So at this point, I think they just do want people to be on the street. They want us to die on the street because I can't see another reason for being so like taking all of this money. They're taking billions of dollars that would have been used to help people get off of the street possibly and get healthy, and also requiring work and that you get clean. It doesn't work. One, because when you force treatment on people, there's something called the boomerang effect, which is like you tell someone not to do something or to do something and then they like want to do the opposite. It's like the reason why you touch a kid not to touch the hot stove and then they go and touch the hot stove because they want to see why they don't, like why they shouldn't touch it. But it's much more effective, they found, if the treatment that they provide is optional. I do think that there should be housing options where everyone has to be treated, but it's like everyone voluntarily is going there to be treated, which is kind of like inpatient, but a lot of inpatient places are really bad and traumatizing, honestly. So
in the first place?
So it's really the change really focuses a lot on chronically homeless people who have been chronically homeless and are now in permanent housing, what's called permanent supportive housing, because it's people who are offered supports for their mental health or addiction or finding a job, but it's voluntary. And this is what the Trump administration wants to make mandatory. And to be in these permanent housing situations, you have to have been chronically homeless and also have some kind of disabling condition. There's a lot of seniors, and that is who homelessness advocates are fearful that might lose their current housing. And in some cases, they've been there for years.
So
But yeah, the work requirement's not going to work either for people who were houseless or homeless and then because they were elderly or disabled. Like, a lot of people on the street, they're on there because they're disabled and they couldn't find a job. And that's one thing people don't talk about, is that you can become disabled enough that you will lose your job and you will lose your house and your car because you can't work, because we live in capitalism. And so these places are like really vital for relief. And like, there's a conceived notion that like there's these safeguards in place for disabled people at work, and like there kind of are, but anytime you go to like anyone about like disabled stuff, like to a company, you're gonna get a condescending HR vibe response from them, unless they also are disabled or like you're working in a place that's disabled friendly, and they're like outspoken about that. But yeah, these places are crucial because you can become disabled enough, or like if you're elderly and you can't work, like you can end up losing your house and your car. And that's what puts you on the street. Also, a lot of the percentage on the street are domestic violence survivors and their children. And the reason why a lot of the times people go back to a DV household, especially the women and children, is because they don't have another place to go. And the shelters will be full, or there's a reason why they can't get into the shelter. Like if the mom is using anything, they probably won't be able to they might not be able to get into the shelter.
Those with the greatest need. I mean, to be clear, plenty of homeless people enter homelessness and leave it on their own, right? We are talking about people who've been without housing for a longer period of time. They have more complicating conditions, and it is a harder live for them. And the other thing that advocates point out is like, okay, the administration wants to put them into temporary housing situations up to maybe 2 years. And then the housing market itself is incredibly unaffordable. Even for middle-income people with full-time jobs, it can be hard.
So yeah, if you want to watch it, it's a video on YouTube. It's PBS, and it's the name is A Look at the T, Administration's Overhaul of the National Plan to End Homelessness. So on the outside, it sounds like a good thing, but how they're actually tackling it is going to be really ineffective and probably make things worse.